There's a moment in every great baseball game where one player takes complete control, where everything happening on that field runs directly through him. Most players get that moment once, maybe twice in a career-defining season. Shohei Ohtani got it on both sides of the ball in the same game on the same night as a hitter and as a pitcher. And when it was over, when the final out had been recorded and the Dodgers began stepping onto the field in celebration, the pressure that had been building inside the Padres' dugout for 9 straight innings finally snapped. What followed was not just a brawl. It was one of the most consequential post-game incidents in modern MLB history, one that ended 2 careers before the stadium lights even went dark. This was Game 3 of the Dodgers-Padres series. Going into that night, Shohei Ohtani was already producing numbers that belong in a different conversation entirely. At the plate, he was carrying a .272 batting average with 47 hits and 173 at-bats, 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, 33 runs scored, 6 stolen bases, and an OPS of .885. On the mound, across 8 starts, he held a 0.73 ERA over 49 innings pitched. To place that in context, an ERA under 1 is considered historically elite for any dedicated starting pitcher in professional baseball. Ohtani was producing those pitching numbers while simultaneously functioning as one of the most dangerous hitters in the National League. The combination had no modern equivalent. Entering Game 3, expectations were already at a level most players never reach. What actually unfolded that night went beyond all of them. Before Ohtani threw a single pitch from the mound, he had already changed the entire complexion of the game. Leading off the first inning, he walked to the batter's box to face the Padres' starting pitcher. There was no extended back and forth, no grinding the count deep into the at-bat. On the very first pitch of the game, Ohtani swung. The ball left his bat and traveled over the center field wall, a solo home run. The Dodgers had the lead before San Diego had even recorded their first out. That moment captured something fundamental about what separates Ohtani from virtually every other hitter in the sport. He does not require time to settle in, to feel out a pitcher's approach, or to work through early count sequences. One small mistake in pitch location is all the invitation he needs to do serious damage. The Padres starter made that mistake on pitch 1, and Ohtani did not hesitate for a fraction of a second. Here at Baseball Daily, we break down moments exactly like this one: the plays, the decisions, the details that the highlights don't always show. We're closing in on our first 500 subscribers, and if you want to be part of that, hit subscribe right now, drop a like, and share this video with someone who loves the game. It costs nothing and it means everything to this channel. Minutes after crossing home plate, Shohei Ohtani walked back out, this time toward the pitcher's mound. He was now shifting from one of the most explosive offensive moments of the game into his role as the Dodgers' starting pitcher, and he did so without any visible disruption to his composure or focus. His pitching arsenal that night centered on a near 100 mph fastball, and a sweeper that proved consistently difficult for Padres hitters to track and make contact with. The combination threw San Diego's lineup off balance from the first inning he took the mound. Over the course of his outing, Ohtani worked through 5 complete innings, allowing only 3 hits and 2 walks, striking out 4 batters and surrendering 0 runs. His full pitching line read, 5 IP, 3 H, 2 BB, 0 ER, 4 K on multiple occasions throughout those 5 innings. He worked out of situations with runners already on base. Each time he responded by keeping the Padres off the scoreboard entirely. The Dodgers closed the game with a 4-0 victory, and Ohtani had been at the center of nearly every meaningful moment in it. What was unfolding on the field had a very different effect inside the Padres' dugout. Watching a single opponent control both sides of the game, hitting a home run in the opening at-bat, then neutralizing your entire lineup from the mound, creates a specific kind of pressure that statistics alone do not fully capture. It is the psychological weight of feeling like the game is already decided before you have had a real chance to respond. Television broadcast cameras caught this weight accumulating in real time. Players sat in the dugout with tight expressions. Conversations were short, body language shifted as the innings passed, and the scoreboard remained unchanged in San Diego's column. Manny Machado, one of the most prominent and experienced players in the National League, was not immune to it. According to reporters covering the game from inside the stadium, Machado slammed his glove against the dugout bench multiple times as Ohtani's performance continued to expand. The frustration was visible, it was building, and it had nowhere to go while the game was still being played. The final out changed that. The moment the game ended and Dodgers players moved onto the field to celebrate, Manny Machado came out of the Padres' dugout. He was not there to exchange handshakes. He was moving with clear purpose and visible fury, pointing directly at Shohei Ohtani and shouting loudly enough that cameras across the stadium picked up his voice. Fernando Tatis Jr. followed him out of the dugout seconds later. Multiple broadcast angles and footage captured on fans' phones showed both Padres players making unmistakable provocative gestures in the direction of the Dodgers' side of the field. The stadium, which had been energized by the celebration just moments before, shifted instantly into something far more tense. Players from both teams turned toward the confrontation. The noise changed. The atmosphere that had felt like a victory suddenly felt like the opening of something much more serious. Standing in the middle of that escalating situation was Shohei Ohtani, and his response was the opposite of what the moment might have produced in most players. Rather than engaging with Machado's aggression, Ohtani turned toward his own teammates and repeatedly gestured for them to stay calm and pull back from any physical confrontation. Reporters present at the scene confirmed this. He placed himself physically between both groups, making a visible and deliberate effort to prevent the situation from escalating further. For a player who had just dominated an entire game from both sides of the ball, the instinct was not to stand his ground aggressively. It was to protect the moment from turning into something that would overshadow everything that had happened on the field. That decision reflected a level of composure and professionalism that has consistently defined how Ohtani carries himself in public competitive settings, but it was not enough to stop what came next. Manny Machado, with the full weight of 9 innings of frustration behind him, shoved Shohei Ohtani hard in the shoulder. The force of the contact was strong enough to knock Ohtani off balance and send him to the ground. According to MLB reports issued in the hours that followed, Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. continued to move toward Ohtani even while he was still attempting to get back to his feet. The Dodgers reacted with immediate intensity. Freddie Freeman reached Ohtani first and positioned himself directly in front of him. Max Muncy and Will Smith were close behind, moving in to pull Padres players back while the confrontation spread across the field. Shouting, pushing, and heated exchanges filled the space between both teams for several minutes. Dodgers fans in attendance responded with sustained and loud booing directed at the Padres players. Umpires and MLB security personnel intervened with urgency to contain the situation before it expanded further. The stadium remained on edge for several minutes after the players were eventually separated. The home plate umpire, after a rapid review of the available footage, immediately ejected both Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. for violent conduct and for inciting the confrontation. Shohei Ohtani was escorted off the field and taken directly into the Dodgers clubhouse by the team's medical staff for a full evaluation. The initial medical report confirmed that Ohtani had sustained injuries to his right shoulder and back as a result of the fall. Doctors found no signs of broken bones, but confirmed the presence of multiple bruises and significant muscle strain across the affected areas, noting that both conditions would require close monitoring and assessment over the following days. Images of Ohtani leaving the field in visible discomfort spread quickly and generated immediate concern among Dodgers fans watching from inside the stadium and following the situation online. MLB's formal response came quickly. After conducting a full review of all available broadcast footage and eyewitness accounts, the league issued an official ruling that delivered the most severe punishment available under its disciplinary framework. Both Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. were permanently banned from Major League Baseball. The ruling determined that both players had been the primary instigators of the post-game violence and that the act of physically attacking an opponent, specifically one who had been actively attempting to de-escalate the situation, warranted the maximum possible consequence. Commissioner Rob Manfred addressed the decision directly in an official public statement. No act of violence can ever be accepted in sports. What happened after the game was a disgrace to professional baseball, and MLB will not tolerate any action that goes against the spirit of fair play. The announcement generated immediate and widespread reaction across the baseball world. For two players of Machado and Tatis Jr.'s profile and experience, a permanent ban represented a conclusion that few had anticipated even in the hours immediately following the incident. After the game, once the medical evaluation had been completed and the immediate chaos had settled, Ohtani spoke to reporters about his approach to competing as a two-way player, and his comments were both analytically sharp and, at one specific moment, genuinely humorous. On the subject of his pitching mindset, he was direct. His primary objective entering any start is to prevent the opponent from scoring. He explained that a starting pitcher who keeps the opposition scoreless through the 6th or 7th inning provides his team with a reliable foundation to win, a form of pressure and direct team responsibility that differs substantially from what a hitter carries in any given at-bat. He then acknowledged the unusual dynamic of that particular night with a notable comment. He said that leadoff hitter Ohtani had done something amazing for pitcher Ohtani, a line that was both self-aware and a precise description of exactly what had happened in the first inning. It was a rare moment of lightness from a player who is far more often discussed in the language of records and historical comparisons. Ohtani also addressed something that had been a quiet storyline entering Game 3. In his previous 3 pitching starts, he had not appeared in the lineup as a batter. His hitting performance on days when he was also pitching had not met his own standards, and the Dodgers had made the decision to keep those roles separated. Against the Padres, that changed, and the results made the adjustment impossible to overlook. He shared that he is actively working to completely separate his hitting mindset from his pitching mindset, even on days when both fall within the same game. The objective is to prevent one role from bleeding into and disrupting the rhythm of the other. A leadoff home run on the first pitch of the game, followed by 5 scoreless innings on the mound, suggests that the adjustment is producing real results in competition, not just in preparation. When the full scope of Game 3 is laid out, the leadoff homer, the 5 shutout innings, the post-game incident, the permanent bans, and the medical report, What emerges is a night that covered an extraordinary amount of ground in a very short time. Ohtani's season numbers after that game stood at a .272 batting average, 47 hits, 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, 33 runs scored, 6 stolen bases, an OPS of .885, 0.73 ERA, and 49 innings pitched across 8 starts on the mound. There has almost never been another player in professional baseball who could give his team the lead with his bat, and then personally protect that lead from the mound in the same game. That is not a subjective observation. It is simply what the history of the sport shows. Shohei Ohtani is operating in territory that the record books have barely had to account for before now. What happened in Game 3 against the Padres will be part of that record for a long time. If this is the kind of real, detailed baseball coverage you want more of, subscribe to Baseball Daily, hit like, and share this video with someone who follows the sport closely. And since this story has so many angles worth discussing, the performance, the brawl, the bans, and Ohtani's two-way adjustments, drop your take in the comments below. Do you think a permanent ban was the right call for Machado and Tatis Jr.? Or did MLB go too far? The comment section is open. If you enjoy real baseball content and breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.